Hello and welcome to the Possibility in the Universe. We just celebrated our first year anniversary and we are so delighted to have our very first guest. Our very first guest, her name is Cathy Heller. She is joining us live.
Cathy is a powerhouse of inspiration and has so much to offer, so deeply much to offer in her embodiment and in her wisdom, and most of all in the way it feels to be around her. And I'm so deeply excited to have her as our first guest on our podcast. Hello.
I'm like, I'm not in my full get up today. I cried myself to sleep. It's just been such a hard 24 hours. There's a lot going on, obviously. So I was like, I don't think I can bring myself to be anything but authentic today. So
Well, thank you. And that's exactly how we want you.
good. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
Yes. Yes. I guess that will bring us right into what we want to talk about, which is you. So that is super exciting for us to have you here. And I spent some time getting to know you a little bit online, and there's something about being able to meet somebody in person in their authenticity that is so pleasurable.
That's true.
Yeah, and our podcast is called The Possibility in the Universe, and we are Jewish women as well who love to be ourselves. We come from Orthodox Jewish backgrounds, and there are so many women who are so limited in their expression in the communities that we come from, like in their most truest expression, and so much suppression of real emotions, like this, the sad, the bad, the good, the all of it. And so I guess meeting you where you're at now in this moment, I would love to start with you telling us a little bit more about the ways that you meet yourself where you're at. Because that's
Well,
where
first
we're
of all,
at.
that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Hashem definitely put me on the right podcast today for where I am at. You said it before, and it's so beautiful how you just welcome in whatever's real. When my father passed away last year, I just remember that I just didn't want the Shiva to end because it was so powerful the way that people walk into your space when you're going through such a loss like that. And it's such a gift to sit with people where there's no performing and everybody is so available to have real conversations. And that's actually what I loved about living in Israel during the Second Intifada, even though I was there for 3 years in a really hard time. I had just come from going to college in the United States and going to the mall every weekend. And next thing I know, I'm living through, it's an interesting story. We all have these interesting pivotal moments in our life, but with all of the hardship that was at that time, I just didn't want to leave because there's something about being authentic with people, and people are really there to have authentic, real conversations because there's a lot of real things going on. And I think that we're recording this on 9/11. That's probably not an accident either. And my friends and family that lived in New York City through 9/11 said that there was something really powerful about the way that people showed up for each other and the way that people made eye contact with each other and looked at each other in the days after that. So I think that really that conversation about just inviting everything to the table, I actually don't think it needs to be that there's a huge tragedy for us to have a lot going on a given Tuesday. Like, I think that the full John Kabat-Zinn, who's a mindfulness teacher and really a leader of that world, says he has a book that's called Full Catastrophe Living, because the idea is that we feel the range of emotions every day. Because even with your children, like my daughter just turned 9 on Sunday, and she's my youngest. And my oldest, all this stuff makes me cry, but she just went to camp for the first time this summer. She's 13. She went to her Jewish summer camp for the first time. She would have gone sooner, but because of COVID, it was closed. And anyway, then she wasn't in on it and she didn't want to go. And she went this summer. So for the first time, I had a kid who went away for 4 weeks. And when I watched her walk on the plane, because she flew by herself, I just was in tears. Why? Because even that is grief. That, thank God, that's not the kind of grief that is anything like the other kinds of grief we just talked about. But my point is that on any given day, we are holding the most incredible possibilities, the most incredible surprises and delights, as well as our own mortality, as well as the fact that our heart breaks just from even seeing the beauty in the world. There's an amazing book about Abraham Joshua Heschel, who I think was known as the rabbi of the conservative movement, even though that's not necessarily the movement I call home to me. I think was an amazing person. And he has this book called I Asked for Wonder, where he was literally brought to tears sometimes just from looking at the beauty of the world. Sometimes I'll see a person, like there was a guy in the grocery store the other day, and everything's making me cry today because I've been crying for the last day, but such a hard day. But anyway, I saw this guy in the grocery store who's 55 or so, 6 years old, and he's clearly has autism or something, and he just works in the grocery store. And just watching him give my daughter an orange made me cry because such a gentle soul. So I think to not let ourselves feel our feelings really robs us from living. And I'm one of those people that I love joy. And I think I can experience joy on such a level because I let myself experience pain. So I think it is such an incredible way to start a conversation, is to say, where can we be available for all of the feelings? And by the way, that's one reason I just love Judaism. And the brilliance of Judaism is I just went through a Veilus. My father, it's just been a year. And it's so perfectly done where you say Kaddish for this long. You don't go to weddings for this long. You give yourself space to feel, as opposed to, oh, you're going to brush that off and just, no, of course you're not going to do that. And everything has its place. And also in days like today, when the world is very aware of the darkness that exists in the world because we're remembering 9/11 and Charlie Kirk was murdered yesterday and all that. At the same time, Judaism says, Yalla, let's go. Your job is to constantly, you are activated by your resilience and you will find the light, and you are light workers. And this is literally your job. So you can't take a day off. And they're both true at the same time.
Yeah. It's so cool as we're dropping in together into the resonance field. I'm recognizing that we didn't even say our names, and it doesn't even matter, because what I feel even more deeply than that is I can feel, and you're allowing us to feel your embodiment. And I don't even need to ask you the question of like, how do you bring in manifestation and abundance and Kabbalah? Because you are showing me. You are not, and you are showing Chani, and you aren't telling us, but your embodiment is allowing us to experience how you experience the full range of life. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. That's so sweet. You guys are so deep and kind, and it's so cool that you came together and created this show, because it's unique and powerful, and I love it. Like I'm on people's podcasts all the time, but it's very rare that two girls who have all of this to share and making a podcast, it's really important.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your tenderness also. So special to witness you, and also your father's neshama should have an aliyah and really be such a relief for all of us in the ways that we are asking for, especially in this moment, especially now. It really hit home for me, your share, because in my experience, and this morning is Thursday morning, every morning I learn with my dad. And this is the third year that we started to learn together. And it came from a moment of confrontation with life, right? That brink of death feeling where he ended up in the hospital, and there was this uncertainty of what was going to be. And suddenly I was smacked in the face with, oh my God, if this was the day that he was going to go, is this the relationship and the intimacy that I would feel like I really got to receive in this life?
So powerful.
Yeah, it was so wild. And in that moment, with the help of guidance of my coach at the time, Yocheved Saidoff, she really helped me lean into the intimacy of what I desired, and to ask my dad for this time together so that we could be in something that's learning so that there's a common denominator, something that we can share, and really what I desire the most, which is the connection and the intimacy of the relationship. And so like, it is wild to be at the brink of something so devastating. And then the other part that I'm looking at is what we do with it, what we do in those moments, what we choose in those moments, that is really what it's for in some ways. The other thing that I was, the other thing that I was just noticing is it is 9/11. And Charlie did just get shot, which is like so devastating. And it still hasn't fully settled in there is no settling because it's not something that settles ultimately, because the injustice and the madness of this world and the darkness is so evident. And today happens to also be in the Hasidic Jewish calendar, the day of the birth of the Baal Shem Tov and the birth of the Alter Rebbe, which are both Hasidic masters who brought the frequency of Torah in the way of the simple person having access to the emotional experience of what it means to be a Jew and what it means to be a practicing person in this kind of lifestyle. So it's wild. It's like you were saying about the Shiva. Like there's something about the infrastructure here that in devastation, there's something that we could be supported by, which is just wild.
It's definitely true. Yeah. I mean, it often, when things like this happen, it really brings you very close to God. It brings you very close to what are you living for?
Yeah.
And I found that living in Israel, that when people are faced with an existential threat every single day, they live life every single day. And so there are people who have all of the comforts of the world, but they're not living. And so, yeah, the juxtaposition of intense, really dark things it makes sense, actually. It does make sense. So here we are. But yeah, it's what a day. Yeah. It's been a lot happening in 24 hours.
Yeah, and it's so wild because I think that even your assistant and my assistant were in touch for a while. There was a lot of rescheduling of this time, and now we're here
Good
today,
timing.
here together, and that also feels really moving.
It's true. I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. So cool. So let's
dive in.
let's move with the grief and also create. And my question for you is, I have a few questions for you, but it is around living in impossibility. And
I love that word. That's my favorite word.
ours
too.
too. Ours too. One day, I'll tell you about how our podcast got created. We spent the weekend together. Chani has, just for reference, she has 6 children, ranging from age 20 to 5.
6, yeah.
6. And we got to spend time together for a weekend, and where she was away with her from her children, really immersing ourselves into time to spend and create and talk and have fun. And at one point we were having a conversation and we looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, we are the possibility in the universe.
It's true.
And then we're like, that's the name of our podcast. And that
Beautiful.
was what got created in that weekend. And you too, you as well are the possibility in the universe. And I believe so deeply that we are the possibility in the universe when we know that we are the possibility in the universe. And
True.
I wonder if you can share with me a story that might, and us, a story that would come through for you when you hear the question of what's a story from your life where you chose possibility over fear or function, or something that was working, maybe recently, maybe in the past, that really changed the trajectory of your life, changed the trajectory of your experience of Shefa, for those listening to this who are not Jewish and don't speak Hebrew, which it means abundance.
Yeah, that question for me to answer is literally nonstop every second, every day. I feel like I see the world in a lens of which everything is created in consciousness and energy creates matter. So it's literally as simple as turning your thoughts into things. And there's a physical chessboard and there's a spiritual chessboard, and the only one that actually has any weight is the spiritual chessboard. And so the possibilities are always hidden in plain sight, and they're nonstop and they're on tap and they're literally infinite. So because that's what I perceive, that's what I'm available for. And what I'm going to say that might be an interesting way to answer your question is that for me, and I say this because selfishly, what I want is what I really want, which is to feel as though I'm in purpose every day. I'm in contribution every day. And it doesn't matter that much to me about the physical kind of ways that people tally up their success with the cars
Yes.
and the things. So for me, I literally say to Hashem almost every day. It's funny because sometimes I forget to do it, but a lot of days I say, I want you to make it so abundantly clear that I am at the right place at the right time where I was needed today. And I want to have a quantum conversation with you today. And I want it to be a wow. So, to give you a recent example, I'm in Switzerland with my kids. I haven't left the country in years because I was waiting for my youngest to get old enough, whatever. We go to Switzerland. And I say to Hashem one morning, put me at the right place at the right time today. So it's so obvious that I am exactly on my path. Okay. So we go to this mountain in the Swiss Alps and we take this funicular ride and they go up and down every 11 minutes. So fine. We go on one at one random moment and we go up and it's very high. And I'm, oh my God, this is actually scary, but we're fine. And we go look around and it's beautiful. My kids take pictures and then they get a bottle of water. And at no uncertain time, we just go down. And then there's a whole bunch of people waiting to get on. And I'm getting off at that exact minute. And there's a woman standing on the steps to come on. And she says, Cathy Heller. And I look at her and I say to my daughter who's next to me, I don't know who this is because I didn't recognize her, but she's saying my name. So obviously, so we step aside. So she misses boarding, which is fine. There'll be another one in 11 minutes. And she starts to cry and she says, you don't understand. And she says, this is my husband, this is my daughter. And she's tearing up and she's okay. So here's why I'm crying. You don't really know me, but I just made it through cancer. I just rang the bell. I just finished radiation and I listened to your podcast every day. Like it got me through it every single day. And I told my husband that if I got through chemo and I rang that bell, I was going to book a trip to Switzerland. And he said, I want you to have the trip, but we can't afford the trip. And it's so over the top. And she said, no, because I'm going to bet on abundance. I'm going to do it. And that's, of course, what we're going to do. And so she said, as we got off the plane in Switzerland, she said, you know what's going to happen? She goes, I'm going to bump into Cathy in Switzerland. And he's, what are you talking about? And she's, you'll see, I'm going to get confirmation that this trip was the trip I was supposed to take. And she goes, and there you are. Like, you're on this random mountain in Interlaken at the exact moment. And I would have just missed you if you would have got on a different train. We wouldn't have even known. So I burst into tears. I'm like, do you know that I asked God this morning to tell me that I'm always at the right place at the right time, that I'm doing my job? That's all I want to do is my job. So I'm like, you don't know what kind of abundance you just gave to me. So grateful. And that's what I'm after. There's no amount of New York Times reviews or this one. Like, I don't care. Like, I care that I get these mystical, like I run straight into Hashem. I'm just like, oh my, like, I just want to run straight into Hashem, like in the middle of my day and be like, thank you. How awesome. So to me, the greatest possibility you could ask for is show me I'm on my path. Show me that in no uncertain terms, I'm doing exactly what you're asking of me because it's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. And that's why I cried so hard yesterday and this morning about Charlie Kirk, because I feel like that's really devastating when somebody is doing what they believe they're supposed to do, no matter what it is. Like, I'm friendly with Bobby Kennedy. He was my next door neighbor in LA. Like, even before I ever thought I would vote for the guy, like I wasn't even politically minded. I became so close with him and Cheryl, and I watched him risking his life for his views. Even if I don't agree with everything these people say, when you see someone who's just let me be I'm trying to be in service anyway. So that's why it's so devastating anyway. But I think the most abundant thing you can have is a conversation with God. That is literally your life is the conversation, right? And for the soul, your soul doesn't care about how many followers you have. Your soul doesn't care about how much money you have in the bank. Your soul cares that you're on assignment.
Yes.
That's what it cares about. And so That's how I play with what you just said. And because of that, I am a really good manifester, because the way manifestation works is when you are in wholeness, when you are revealing the light of the creator, you manifest, because that's what the creator does. So then the possibility is the shefach is nonstop. And by the way, Hashem is very generous. Hashem's not on a budget. So my life also, in the 3D sense, Baruch Hashem, it's very abundant, but it's not because I'm needing the abundance. It's more because when you reveal abundance, you're happy already. You don't need any of the abundance. So now you're not attached to the abundance. And then you just have so much manna from heaven that you don't know what to do with it. So then you become a steward of it. It's actually not complicated. It's just that we're so outsourcing our power and our happiness all the time, waiting for something to make us feel significant, waiting for some validation, waiting for some amount of money, that we can't reveal light until it happens. So then we're not going to reveal light, which means we're not going to reveal light. But when you're revealing the light, you are abundant. I have felt rich since I was learning with Rabbi Aaron, living in the old city, eating literally pita. All I was eating was pita every single day. I didn't have enough money for a shawarma, and I didn't care, because I was so rich on life. I was like high on Torah that, of course, the money comes, and then you have plenty of spicy tuna rolls and whatever you want.
Anyway. Wow, I am so inspired. Holy moly. You are an Eved Hashem.
Who are you?
Straight up. I know I am, but it is so epic to witness a point of contact. And I know you're mirroring back to me who I am as well, and I am too, but it's so powerful to say it with such certainty and the deep understanding and knowing that it's not connected to the things. And the soul really it doesn't matter to the soul. What a powerful, inspiring way to navigate and to really own that aspect of yourself as a soul. There's so many iterations of the relationship with God, because we can be a child of God and we can be a servant of God, and there's other ways that we can be in connection and to be in purpose and be in navigating with some certainty of understanding that I'm just literally here to serve you. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I knew that at 19 or 20, that I just wanted to serve the master of the universe.
Gorgeous.
Because what else is there to do? Honestly, I'm the recipient of it. I'm the one who gets the pleasure, the fact that I get to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
That's a good kind of selfishness, when you're like, how I feel giving my gardener water every day. I feel good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know that. That's the thing. It's like, you're the lucky one. You know how you just felt? Why would you deny yourself that feeling that you could matter that much to a person for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And also, this is where I think I say things that not everybody says. I don't have any problems with people having physical abundance. I don't even understand why people question it or doubt it. Does the redwood tree say I don't need that much water? That's ridiculous. That is not being an Eved Hashem. Hashem is asking for you to thrive so that you don't have to think about your scarcity. Enjoy it. There's zillions and zillions of dollars, and the universe is so abundant. The fact that you would create that is actually an ego. That's an ego problem. That's not a soul problem. The soul can receive an infinite amount and give an infinite amount, and also doesn't care how much it's given. Meaning, if you're a cello, be a cello. If you're a triangle, be a happy triangle. Like, I say to my kids all the time, if we didn't have this Range Rover, which I freaking love driving, it's gold, it's gorgeous, I blast amazing music in there, I was happy in my apartment. I thought it was amazing. I loved my apartment. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm so happy because I don't even live in my apartment or my house. I live in here. I live in here. This is where I live. So it's all of it. But I wouldn't resist having abundance because I'm so spiritual. That is what makes no sense. Just do your job. Okay? If Hashem is going to bring you parnasa and it's flowing, great. Enjoy it. Get good towels. Buy organic food, host people for Shabbat, and fly first class. Why should you have a kink in the back of your neck? Lay down. I have no problem with any of it. So I give people this people find it like, oh my God, she's so spiritual and she's so okay with money. I'm like, I don't understand why you would not be. It's a whole weird brainwashing thing that people have around that. And also, yes, it's definitely not my priority. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it's there, because I'm not thinking a lot about it. It's like food, right? When people pick at themselves, my body, my this, it's like, you're not going to lose the weight if you're constantly fixating on it. Just be intuitive. Eat when you eat. Don't eat when you don't eat. It's like when you're not fixating on money, it doesn't make or break you. It just is. And then you're so busy adding to the world. You're so busy moving through the world. You're being provided for. You're fine. Like Hashem is your CFO. Everything's okay. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I love that.
Amen.
Yeah.
I mean, you're really like, I know you just landed here crying in the morning in your living room, and we're on our
Literally.
podcast, which is literally speaking the language of our souls. And it's really so beautiful to see how we all find each other and then amplify each other with resonance and with excitement and with allowing and permission. And you were talking about being the steward of your money. And I always talk to my clients all the time and myself about being the steward of my own energy. And I'm
Yes.
thinking, when I am the steward of my own energy, when I allow my energy to move without judgment, when I allow my feelings to move without judgment, then I am also then I become the steward of my own shefa. That is literally the same energy. It's just this allowing non-resistance experience to life. And literally our last podcast, we spoke, Han, about intimacy with God. And it's like this podcast moves us. We don't move it. It moves us. It moves through us and it moves to the next thing. And every single time we speak, we experience the positive repercussions of what comes through. And I'm so grateful you're here, Cathy, because I feel amplified. I feel gifted by the experience of your light, of the way that you choose to steward your light. I'm so deeply grateful.
Yes.
My question for you is about, I saw you writing about the good girl paradigm and shifting out of people pleasing, which is one of my favorite and Hani's favorite topics that exist in this entire universe. And I want to get into that with you.
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is that most of what matters to me is spiritual insight, because I think for a lot of it, going into our old programming, and very often the therapy world and all of that can actually sometimes keep you in these stories. And yet, some therapists are absolutely brilliant, some somatic practices are absolutely brilliant. But typically for me, everything has a spiritual answer. It's a spiritual answer. However, we have to honor the fact that we have these like personalities that we develop growing up, and we're inside of this matrix of our living room from 0 to 15 or whatever, 18. And we take in a lot of messages and we observe a lot of things. And in order to quote unquote survive, we come up with all of these best practices, which eventually become questionable. Some of them are good, some of them are terrible. And I think for a lot of people, there are these ways in which we self-abandon to make it through. And at the time, that was probably like a great idea, but then eventually it's a horrible idea. And I think for me, growing up with parents who were fighting a lot, who got divorced, and my dad was very angry when we were growing up. He was very frustrated. The marriage was not good. He was eventually leaving the marriage and having a whole other life. And I think he had a lot of guilt around that. He also grew up in a really hard household. And my mom suffered from a lot of depression and anxiety, and she's ADHD and she's mildly autistic. And so she's very intense and also amazing, and also Peter Pan, but also can be she can just be very manic sometimes. And so in order for me to get through a lot of what was happening in my house, I was very good. And I just was very like steady, and I became amazing at reading the room and taking care of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is my personality. My grandfather died when my mom was 9 months pregnant with me. My grandfather died, and my mom was at the funeral, and he died unexpectedly. And she said she remembers crying so hard that she was worried something would happen to the baby, because she was unexpectedly at a funeral. She was young. This wasn't supposed to happen. And she was totally beside herself. And I think I came into the world with a lot of nechama. Like, I think I came into the world with a lot of empathy for my mom. And I became very clued in because she was definitely grieving. And so was my grandmother, who moved in with us because she didn't know how to drive a car or write a check, and she was upside down beside herself. So I was born into that mourning and that grief. So in a way, the aspect of my personality that is a friend or is there for other people, I like being that person. But sometimes it comes at the cost of what I need to do to take care of myself. And then sometimes it comes at the cost of giving all of my attention and power to someone who's actually not deserving of it, or really crossing a boundary. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Oh, it's an old pattern where I'm just default giving this person more than they deserve, or not listening to what feels true and not setting a boundary. All of that is stuff that I've had to clean up along the way. And recently, I just made some really big decisions about things in my life because I stopped leaving myself on red. I stopped gaslighting myself. And I got to a place where I realized there should not be guilt. If something does not feel right to me, I can trust myself to say, this is where I'm at. And I actually used to be really worried about that. There was even a period of time where I'm definitely on the religious spectrum of Judaism. Like, I've always gone to the mikveh, I have a kosher home, all of that. But there was a season where I was really religious, and I lived in Mea Shearim for a season in my life. Yeah.
What?
And I was definitely confused at a certain season about how much was expected of me and if I would be punished if I wasn't doing things that were expected of me. And thank God I had really good rebbeim and really good support to take me back to a path that really feels like love. But I think that it's very easy.
Wow.
I think it's really easy to wind up abandoning yourself for what you think is a lishma reason, like for what you think is the right reason. And it's a slow suicide. Like, it's actually very dangerous. And so we need to have healthy understanding around what is your truth. If that feels what's true to you, then Hashem told you that information for a reason. And even if it winds up being a detour, even if you're wrong, you're going to follow it for now, because that's what your body is screaming to you is the truth. And so, funny stories, I'm living in Mea Shearim. There's 2 sidewalks, right? Men and women don't eat at the same table. We eat at different tables for Shabbat lunch. Anyways, I wound up going through a really depressive experience there. I was completely out of my body and not okay. And I went to see my rabbi, David Aaron, in the old city, and I knocked on his door, and he's like, your light is out. What happened to your light? Oh my God. I had a whole conversation with him, and he said, Cathy, love is not earnable. God doesn't love you more because you wear stockings or you don't wear stockings. Do what you want, but this is not what you're doing. You're doing this out of thinking you have to earn love and perform at a certain level, and it's a mitzvah contest or whatever it is. Anyway, so he's like, why don't you just go? He's like, why don't you just go back to you being you? And we have this whole conversation. So I go to Ben Yehuda Street to buy a pair of jeans, which was totally rebellious. And the jeans that I bought, the label on the jeans said True Religion. It was the brand. This is 2003 or something. And I walked to the hotel and I said to Hashem, if you're really real, then you'll accept me as I am.
Oh, yes.
And anyway, and then I told Rabbi Aaron I really wanted to sing, and he was like, Ketzela, go sing. Like, enough. Like, you grew up in a reform household where you had shrimp at your bat mitzvah and you're doing all of these things. And could you just catch your breath? Like, move to LA, go sing, stop with the kolisha. So I moved to LA. He gave me the race shoes to go do what you want to do. My singing career totally took off. I wound up writing music, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, singing songs for Grey's Anatomy and Walmart commercials and Target commercials and TV shows like One Tree Hill. And I had the best time. And I had children, and I was still hosting Shabbat, and it was I met all these amazing other Jewish songwriters, by the way, who were out in LA, and we all would connect and have Shabbat dinners together, and it was great. And then I started a podcast and used my voice that way. But it's amazing how sometimes it takes what feels like moving a mountain to just trust yourself. Could you just trust yourself? And before I went to Israel, right after college, I applied to rabbinical school because on my journey, I've had like different moments. So before I became religious, I didn't know. I just knew I was in love with Judaism all through college. And I was like, I'm reading Martin Buber, I'm reading Abraham Joshua Heschel, I'm reading Halachic Man. I was like, my friends are going to law school, I'm going to go to rabbinical school. So I applied to JTS and I got in, and I wound up going on a Shabbaton, which told me just defer this for a year and go to seminary. So I went to Nishmat, which is an amazing program in Israel where they train women to be yoetzet halacha. So you could actually become like a posek, which I realized I do not want to do. And then I realized for me personally, I just don't like learning Gemara. It was so boring. I was bored out of my mind. I was like, I just want to learn Chassidus. I don't want to be a rabbi. I'm not interested. And then of course I became religious. So I really didn't want to be a rabbi for a lot of reasons. But anyway, the point of the matter is that as you go through your life, it's interesting how you realize exactly your truth is what the world needs. Because I'm now hosting a podcast that has over 50 million downloads, and I'm not a rabbi, and I don't want to be one, and I'm not the most religious person or the least or whatever. I'm just me doing me. Meanwhile, I have so many amazing rabbis on my podcast who wind up having the biggest audience they've ever had because they're on my show, because I'm not living in Meir Sharm, because I'm not so you doing you, it's like, we need you to be you. That's the thing. And if you're not listening to yourself and you're trying to please somebody other than your own authority, you won't wind up being you. And now you're living somebody else's life. Wasn't even yours. So what are you doing?
Whoa. Cathy, you're our first guest on our podcast. We have our podcast for one whole year, and you're our first guest. Best guest. First guest
And you
ever.
also just set the bar. Holy freaking moly.
Oh my God, you're so sweet.
Also,
You
I
just
wanted,
did.
it feels like it's safe to say that if you're feeling guilty about it, or for some reason it's not landing in a way that feels authentically you, then it's probably safe to say that it's no. And
Not
so that's
you.
not your soul's path. It's just not. And it may contradict with everybody else that thinks that they know for you what's meant for you, but it's not, that's not necessarily your individual specific truth that's meant to come through your specific light form. That's it.
And also, I think there are times where even if it's not path related vis-a-vis purpose or work, but it's related to, let's say you need to set a boundary with someone in your family, or you need to say no to something. Recently, the Chabad rabbi, I'm not Chabad either, but I love Chabad, but I'm not any of these. I'm all of these things. Anyways, he asked me if he could host a huge Rosh Hashanah service in my backyard. And I was so honest with him. I was like, I would only be saying yes out of guilt. I really don't want to take that on. It's 250 people. I really don't. And I go, I'm telling you this in the most honest way because we have such a good relationship. I go, but I've never been this honest, but I'm in this like honest season. He goes, I'm so proud of you that you could be honest with me. And then I was like, but I'm going to give you a donation for your, he's like, great, amazing. You don't even have to, whatever. But it was like, sometimes part of listening to yourself is disappointing someone else. And it feels so awful to do. And it wound up being that he said, because of that, and because of a few other people who also said no, they wound up buying a building that they needed to buy all this time. So he was like, you don't understand. Like when I finally got it, that like relying on other people to be our space, we just got this building. It came out of Hashem's like perfect. It's perfect. And there are times with your children where you just want to say yes because they want so bad to do this or that. And you say no because you just have to trust yourself. And you're like, oh, the fallout is going to be a disaster. And because you say no, your child realizes the greatness in themselves, or realizes that they can do something they didn't think they could do, or realizes they can handle the fact that sometimes life says no. So it's like listening to yourself means no matter how uncomfortable it's going to be for other people, this is what's true. And that is uncomfortable. That is sometimes very uncomfortable, but that's the test.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
I enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, what an honor and pleasure and delight. Literally delight. Thank you.
My book, by the way, comes out on paperback on 11/11. And
wow.
it's a USA Today bestseller, and it's all about Judaism and some of the most beautiful ideas from Kabbalah, which I learned from Rabbi Aaron. And I just would love for your audience to just know about it, because it's, I think, something that if you liked this conversation, you'd probably underline and circle a lot of things in there that, again, it's not my wisdom, but I'm bringing it to these pages, and it was such a gift to get to share it.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
that.
So excited.
Thank you.
I really deeply so appreciate you.
I
And,
appreciate
and
you both. No, seriously, this lifted me up. I was having such a heavy feeling, and talking to such beautiful neshamas just brought me into such a zen.
Yeah.
thank God.
Yes,
Okay.
likewise.
Much love and
Stay in
have a blessed
touch.
day. Okay, we
Okay.
will.
To be
Bye.
continued. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and immersing yourself into this conversation, which was such a delight. It was so much fun to have this conversation with Cathy, to bring the first guest onto our podcast that feels in such complete alignment with our mission and our message and our purpose, which is the possibility in the universe. And if you enjoyed this podcast, if this is your first time listening to this podcast because of Cathy, and if you found us through Cathy, we have a whole lot of other podcasts to listen to that is so exciting. And I also want to share that I am going to be running a retreat in Italy in November. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh, this is what I've been looking for my whole life, a retreat in Italy, Chani will be joining us on the retreat. It's going to be incredible, just for women. Go check it out on my website, rivkygross.com.
This conversation was so inspiring, so expanding, so also resonant. I feel so seen in our mission, and to be alongside other gorgeous souls who are in the service of Hashem in this way, really putting their authentic, uninhibited self into the world to make the impact that we're here to create. Like, we're literally here to be ourselves in our wholeness, so that we can do the will of God and bring whatever that is through us, each one of us uniquely. And so, feeling so empowered by this conversation, and so excited for all of you who are going to enjoy this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Till next time.
Till next time. See ya. We are so humbled and delighted to have you with us. Our podcast is Real Life in Real Time, where we embark on curious conversations that expand our awareness and capacity for all that is possible.
The Possibility of the Universe podcast is only possible because of you, our audience. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks so much for being here, and thanks so much for listening. I'm Chani. First and foremost, I am a believer. I am a wife. I am a mother of 6 beautiful children, and I am the owner of Grassroots Brooklyn, an experiential art collective and floral atelier. I am also a life coach, working with both individuals and couples to empower them to step into all of their own possibilities in this universe. You can find me on Instagram at Makom Sanctuary, and on my website, www.grassrootsbklyn.com.
Hi, I'm Rivky, and I love life. I love heart-centered living. I love to be curious, and I love to connect with all things. I started off as a social worker and developmental therapist, and now I work as a somatic and subconscious practitioner, using modalities such as somatic healing, breathwork, bodywork, hypnotherapy, and some really magical and incredible quantum healing technologies. I work with individuals, couples, run retreats and courses using these modalities to help people find the most freedom, presence, aliveness, and embodiment inside of their lives. The ways to contact us are through my website, rivkygross.com. That is spelled RIVKY dash, the straight line dash, gross, GROSS.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Chani at Makom Sanctuary, and myself at Rivky Gross. We are here for any and all questions and feedback through the contact form on the website. And we're so looking forward to hearing from you.